Well, another year is coming to a close, and overall I found 2025 to be a largely satisfying year for movies. There were creative original stories, impressive blockbusters, and filmmakers attempting new things with the art form. And as usual, I'm going to count down my top films I rated highly and often made taking a trip to the theater worth it. Starting with my number 10 pick, which is a French animated film about time travel. Arco. If you saw my list ranking my favorite animated movies of 2025, this held the number 1 position, so I won't repeat myself too much when discussing it here, especially since I'll be doing a review of my expanded thoughts sometime in January. But overall I found this presented a unique and creative take on the time travel story, with director Hugo Bienvenu providing a touching tale. He clearly put a lot of thought into how these two specific time periods operate, and I did find myself invested in the connection formed between these two children. It's an example of the imagination that can come from animation and what artists with a specific vision are able to accomplish when working with other artists to bring the ideas to life. I don't know how wide the expansion will be next month, but if Arco opens near you, I think it's worth seeking out. And number 9 is the latest visual wonder from Wes Anderson, The Phoenician Scheme. I just find something immensely appealing about the worlds devised by Wes Anderson, something he even talked about this year in a video paying tribute to his work. With this movie, he gives us a fun globetrotter that allows its lead character to meet a wonderful assortment of amusing characters, although I actually found the funniest moments belong to Michael Cera as the tutor who tags along on this trip. It's also a movie about the relationship between a father and daughter, and that develops really nicely throughout the movie. But what I especially enjoyed about The Phoenician Scheme is the way Anderson heightens the cartoon gags, some greatly timed visual jokes and other delights. There's even some slight political commentary, with Wes Anderson setting his sights on multiple targets. I've greatly enjoyed every film he has directed, and while I know people like to pinpoint a specific style in his movies, I do think he often gives us something new each time. My choice for number 8 is an adaptation of a classic novel by a renowned filmmaker, Frankenstein. When you hear about Guillermo del Toro directing his take on the famous Mary Shelley story, it probably conjures up a certain image, and yet he nonetheless manages to surprise with his approach to the material. I like the idea of the story being told with two narratives, starting from the doctor's point of view and then having the monster tell his side. It provides that contrast between the two and how they view the world and death in general. Oscar Isaac depicts Victor Frankenstein's obsessive nature, while Jacob Elordi combines the monster's ferociousness with the humanity that is there as well. I found myself completely invested in all the science talk, and Victor detailing exactly how he brings dead people back to life. Elizabeth also becomes a compelling character as she sees more than Victor. Unsurprisingly, Del Toro makes the film look visually creative, with the sets and especially the costumes helping to give this Frankenstein its own identity. There have been quite a few worthwhile versions of the story over the years, and this is another winning approach. And number 7 is a wild true story presented with a lot of charm. Roofman. We often hear of movies based on true stories having to change things to make them more entertaining, but what's interesting about Roofman is that reading up on the actual event, the filmmaker stuck mostly close to it. Derek Cianfrance finds both the humor and the drama out of this crime story as Channing Tatum's escaped robber ends up hiding in a Toys R Us. Tatum is so good at showing why even those he robbed found Jeffrey Manchester so likable, and it's enjoyable watching him use his smarts. The movie has fun with the Toys R Us setting and depicting the ways he entertains himself when the employees are not there. I also like seeing the relationship he develops with one of the employees, nicely played by Kirsten Dunst. This is really a story about someone just trying his best to survive to the next day, even if it means committing illegal acts, and wanting to be with a family. My number 6 pick is a roller coaster ride about the effect of revolution. One battle after another. What's exciting about Paul Thomas Anderson is you never know what he's going to direct next. With this movie, he presents a political commentary that's scathing, depicting powerful people who try to bring down anyone who might disagree with their policies, although it's not exactly a one-sided film either, as some of the revolutionaries are not depicted in the most positive light for their explosive actions. What most captivated me was the story of this father looking for his daughter, with Leonardo DiCaprio probably depicting his paranoid ex-revolutionary trying to get back in action. Shakespeare Infinity delivers an impressive film debut as the daughter, and Benicio del Toro is terrific as the sensei master helping them both. Anderson directs the action sequences with the needed excitement, further aided by Johnny Greenwood's score. There's a sequence on a hilly road that especially made my stomach go up and down. The humor is also on point, with a particularly funny running joke involving DiCaprio trying to remember one of the old codes, and the result becomes a biting and exhilarating film. Coming in number 5 is a charming take on an iconic comic book hero, Superman. While I enjoyed his Guardians of the Galaxy movies a lot, I did not know what to expect from James Gunn depicting the Man of Steel. However, I really liked what he ended up doing with Superman, showing his heroism and the constant battles he has to fight to protect a planet he has called home for many years. David Cornsweet was an excellent choice to play Superman, and his alter ego Clark Kent bring a lot of likability to the role, as well as some decisions he often has to make when saving the day. while I like that he does not even flinch when faced with who to rescue. There's a very pointed allegory on Putin's invasion of Ukraine that I thought was exceptionally well handled, including a discussion between Clark and Lois about the role of a hero in a geopolitical conflict. I especially appreciated how it went into the topic of social media and how it can so often be influenced by manipulated anger. Throw in some fun action sequences, a great villain with Lex Luthor, and a cute but also quite vicious Crypto the Superdog, and this becomes a strong start to the new DC universe. My number 4 pick is an adaptation of a Stephen King story told in 3 parts. The Life of Chuck. This has been quite the year for movies based on Stephen King stories, and I enjoyed all of them. I even considered including The Running Man on this list, but it just missed out. With The Life of Chuck, Mike Flanagan seems to be calling back to the King adaptations produced by Castle Rock, the production company co-founded by Rob Reiner. The movie builds the needed intrigue in each segment in figuring out who exactly this Chuck is, but the 3 individual storylines also succeed well on their own. The first of its depiction of a world reacting to the loss of internet and eventually everything else, the second part showing a charming dance, and the third focusing on a boy dealing with grief. The script nicely develops them and delves into the lives of the characters, and it manages to be sentimental, but not cloyingly so despite it possibly falling into that trap. It's a strong balancing act that Flanagan succeeds in pulling off. And number 3 is an inventive musical take on the vampire movie. Sinners. Ryan Coogler brought such a creative sensibility to this film, mixing the familiar tropes and rules of the vampire and somehow doing something new with them. So many of these characters become fleshed out individuals, and the entire ensemble delivers strong performances. Particular standouts come from Michael B. Jordan as 2 brothers who set up this juke joint, Haley Steinfeld as a woman returning to their lives, and Daryl Lindo as a drunkard who becomes a delightful presence. The first half of the movie, even before the vampires descend, is captivating as we're taken into town and see how everyone plays a role in setting up this place. And then when the bloodsuckers come in and start trying to turn everyone, it goes nuts. I also really like the musical numbers, which have a lot of energy to them, especially the song I Lied to You. That remains one of the most mesmerizing pieces of filmmaking I've seen this year, but the whole movie becomes an entertaining mix of horror, musical, and period piece. Sitting at number 2 is the second half of a wonderful musical experience. Wicked for Good. I absolutely loved the first part of Wicked and even named it my number 1 movie of last year, and I thought this managed to conclude the story on a strong note. It digs deeper into the political situation of Oz, which I found one of the most fascinating things about the first part, and how people are affected by propaganda that makes them blame all the world's problems on a specific group, and as a result creating prejudice towards them. Stephen Schwartz's songs continue to be strong, with No Good Deed, For Good, Wonderful, and the new song No Place Like Home as my personal favorites. Then there's the relationship between Elphaba and Glinda, which continues to develop in interesting ways, and Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande giving excellent performances again. The connections to The Wizard of Oz are nicely handled, although it's best to look at this as an alternate telling rather than trying to think about how it fits with the 1939 film. Now, having seen the entire story told, this truly was a monumental achievement on John M. Chu's part, and he pulled this musical spectacular off magnificently. And now my number 1 movie of 2025 is Marty Supreme. This is one of those movies that had my investment from the opening scene and did not let go. The fact that the main character is really not all that likable makes it doubly impressive, because it would have been so easy to get sick of him after a while. However, this movie shows how you can tell a story with a protagonist like this and still create interest in seeing where his decisions take him. And boy does Marty make some bad decisions. Joss Safdie takes us from one wild scene to the next, each properly building as his fibs mount, and he angers the wrong people. This is a movie where even minor characters are memorable, and the arguments and ping-pong matches just get more heated as they go on. I think this is probably my favorite Timothée Chalamet performance, bringing the needed layers and ego to the role. You could certainly compare Marty Supreme to the films of Martin Scorsese, with The King of Comedy and Mean Streets in particular, but Safdie also makes this depiction of 50s New York and the people living there his own. It's also very funny in its own twisted way, and it all adds up to quite the experience. Now let me know in the comments what your favorite movies of 2025 are, and have a happy holidays.